watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, the tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever.
As far as won't take me, the highest fall it won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Today's matchup. SK Telecom T1. Griffin. Gen G. Jinair Green Wings. The Fantastic Run.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another day of the LCK Summer Split. We are nearing the end. Papa Smithy, the last full week of the regular season here in the Summer Split coming to a close tomorrow. Then it's just a few more days, ending on Thursday. Then we're in the playoffs. We still have to decide who that final team is going to be. We have 4 confirmed. One more has to make their way in. SK Telecom T1 fighting for that opportunity here today as they take on Griffin.
I'm sure a lot of people have heard by now the chances of SKT making are very slim, but they're still alive. It's all about a double 2-0 today against Griffin, against Kingzone on the last day of the season, and other results have to go their way. And we're not just talking X beats Y. It's X beats Y by a certain score line. So we're getting to the nitty-gritty, but SK Telecom T1, who debuted 6.5 years ago, have never missed playoffs in any of the tournaments they have ever played. They have never been knocked out in a group stage. They have always been on a consistent path of dominance, and there's a very real chance that dominance ends today. Any game loss, not match loss, but any game loss, SK Telecom's out of playoffs.
Yeah, need to have that 2-0, and then they need the stars align after that, basically. So it's a very awkward position for SK Telecom to be in. Try to get this victory, come out swinging. Hope to God that you can pick it up with a 2-0, and then it's just go home and cross your fingers and just wait and see what happens.
The Fantastic Run is the subtitle. They have to look at every game as a must-win. Each best of one has to be a victory. They are the team with the most fans globally and, of course, in Korea as well. Even the lineup here is going to be an interesting one. Of course, the great OGN Global production, the FLICKR production, went up yesterday.
Yep.
Very interesting to see if FLICKR is playing today. Here are the playoff standings. It's never been like this, Achilles. We have 4 teams at the same match score. 2 of them each
with no
have the
tie.
same game score as well.
Yeah.
KT rolls to own the tiebreaker over Griffin by beating them twice. So guys, match score, that's the wins, the W column, into game score, that's the plus column on the right-hand side, and then it's head-to-head. So head-to-head between KT and Griffin. KT beat them 2-0 in both of the best of threes. Yep. KT won. That is why currently, if the season ended yesterday, that will be the standings going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and then Gen G going to be inching out above Kingzone Dragon X as well. But any of these teams here that are confirmed for playoffs can make their way into that #1 spot that KT Rolster is occupying at the moment. Griffin wants to retake it with a victory here over SK Telecom today. SKT, as we said, they need a 2-0. Cannot suffer a single game loss here, or that is it. Playoffs are complete.
And they will still be in the world's qualification ring for now. Hanwha and Griffin have to finish 4th or higher to get SKT to not have enough circuit points for those playoffs. But it's all about the first playoffs. It's the fact that they have never missed a playoffs, and it's SK Telecom T1, the most famous League of Legends organization of all time globally. One game win, they're out. But for Griffin, they're fighting for first Achilles. They need the 2 zeros just as much as SKT.
We'll go ahead and answer the question. Has been scratching at the front of your heads here, guys. Who is starting for SK Telecom T1? And some of you are going to be happy. Probably most of you are going to be sad. It will still be Pyrion in the mid lane. Sticking with him, it's been working better and better for SK Telecom with this starting lineup. They've been getting some more wins on the board. It's do or die time, and they are just going to keep running it home here with Pyrion.
Sticking with the lineup they have run, now this will be the 6th game in a row, 6th match in a row that Pyrion has started. The longest time that FLICKR has ever been out of the roster. Previously was 5 times in a row in LCK Spring 2015. That streak continues, even though we saw FLICKR's tears and the very insightful look at him as a person in the SKT1, the chase video that OGN uploaded to their YouTube channel. He will not be seen today. In a best-of-1 scenario, they do rely on Pyrion to find those victories.
On the other side, though, Griffin. Overall, it was very standard for a while. We knew what to expect from this lineup. Only have the 1 sub that can be made. But then we saw Rather coming back in a little bit more frequently as of the last couple matches, but it will be Chovy starting in the mid lane.
Chovy has a lot of talent, but he's very young, and his effective champion pool's not the biggest. Rather, always defaulted to Lulu, Orianna. Those champions are back in the meta, so you understand why they're considering Rather, and they've also honestly not found as much success in the second round robin, 8-1. In the first round robin, they only have 3 match victories so far in the second round robin. So in a leaner time, they are experimenting. The Griffin hype train may not be at full speed as it was after the first round robin, but they still are in with a chance of pulling clutch. We said they had the easiest run into first, but Achilles, they've never had a run in before. We didn't know what exactly Griffin needed to guarantee match victories. Just where the team is on the standings isn't always relevant. Griffin coming off the loss to GRF, Freak of Freaks, taking down SKT in the most recent matches for these two teams.
Yeah, the GRF loss, a bit puzzling there for Griffin. Opened things up with a nice win in game 1. Seemed like, oh yeah, they're probably going to be able to close this out, and then it just went really wonky from there. But it's been a rough season for SKT, and that is going to be very much reflected here in the KDAs.
Biggest KDA in the league is still Chovy at 9.0. Played that final game against GRF, and his Zoe is basically his strongest champion. Was taken out in that match. Looking at history, first round robin. These two teams played in the Kesper Cup as well. But first round robin of this split, it was Griffin taking out SK Telecom T1 in pretty convincing fashion.
I mean, 27 minutes, 40 seconds there for game 2.
That was a double funnel strategy. A lot of people already hyped about Chovy versus FLICKR. We actually never got it in that series because it was double funnel strategy. It was a Kai'Sa funnel in game number 1, then Master Yi Taric in game number 2. So we never actually saw the laning phase. We may not see it today unless some adjustments in roster come out for SKT. Looking at some of the numbers here. Griffin with first blood. And we know when Tarzan starts a match with a kill, if he is the one controlling the pace of a game, Griffin almost always win those games, Kilios.
Yep. Very Peanut-esque watching him, thinking back to the 2016 Rocks Tigers. Seems like he has that same ability to just get control of an entire map off the back of a single kill coming through out of the jungle. So Griffin going to be looking for that. SK Telecom just going to be looking for really anything that they could grab at to get themselves an advantage.
If you're an SKT fan, maybe you want to see Tal back on that AP Kennen, the 5-man slicing Maelstrom, the big highlight of game 1 against Afrika. Those were different times. Still some smiles from Tal. He's scratching his neck there. I wonder why. Against good old Sword and his Gnar. It's definitely a matchup we could see today.
Both getting a little chuckle out of that one. Sword, we'll see how he's going to be faring in the top lane. But key position as well is going to be in the jungle because Tarzan is in control of all of the stats.
He never gets to play Trundle because he has 2 deaths in 8 wins, no losses. As Trundle, he's always ahead of the curve. Would SKT actually secure the Sejuani and give up Trundle against Tarzan? You imagine no. Blank has been empowered with Pyrion in the lineup. He's definitely had the best patch of form he's had since maybe 2017 spring when he was actually being preferred over Peanut a lot of the time. Looking at the match predictions, a lot of votes here, guys. Almost 8,000 votes. SK Telecom come up ahead. Griffin the favorites to some, but not everyone. After having a bit of a lean second round robin, SKT, the favorites of the people, have to justify some of that fan strength. Remember, they can lose no games in this series if playoffs are their goal.
Yeah. And I mean, losing the first one, what's that going to do to you? How do you bounce back? How do you know now that you've been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs and still have to play a second game, potentially a third game in that series?
The hows, the whys, the whats of LCK Summer 2018 have been very tricky to understand, whether it was the meta or SKT struggles or Griffin, this lineup with no champions experience, looking for a 2-0 to confirm their race towards first spot. It's all been topsy-turvy, Achilleos. We're going to go and zoom in on this game, though. First ban going to be the League of Legends Shen by SKT. Trundle first pick will probably have to come out if SKT aren't going to ban it. Griffin have to ban away the two champions in the LCK. Talia and Aatrox banned every game. But from there, a little bit more situational. Swain is actually one of SKT's best picks, so we'll see if Griffin will ban against SKT, given that Swain isn't a priority for every team anymore.
Well, Yasuo going to be taken off the table here by SKT. Final ban, said Griffin, a lot more flexibility with this third and final one. We'll see where they want to go, what lane they want to attack. Maybe ban away something like the cannon or just wait till the second round of the draft for that.
See what the part is. Tahm Kench is a very common first pick, but I don't know necessarily if you're as afraid of it. They ban Ashe as the final ban here. Griffin on a Tahm Kench team, traditionally they've only actually played one game of it, but if SKT do prize it away, that game was a loss also for Legends. That means the Trundle is available for the first time in a very long time. So maybe we'll get Trundle versus Sejuani after all. See where Griffin shows priority. Some teams will target on the Ezreal or the Varus. Griffin have been moving towards marksman recently. The awesome dudes, the non-marksman of the bot lane started to go away. And it seems like Blank is saying, I can deal with this. The Trundle is open. 8-0 Trundle locked in for Griffin.
I mean, even with a return to form, you could say, from Blank, going up against this Trundle from Tarzan is a bit of an arduous task, and I would really have to question it quite a bit. But seems to be feeling comfortable. We'll see what the game plan is going to be from SKT as we progress through the rest of this draft.
And remember, the Teemo does loom over this draft. If Ezreal Tahm Kench is drafted by SKT, that's when Griffin have actually preferred to go the Teemo. So you can see Bang on your screen. Considering his option, I think he actually said the word Teemo to his team there. So Varus would perhaps be a bit more of an oppressive laner that you'd be less likely to opt into the Teemo against. So see what SKT are feeling. The Ashe isn't there as an option. Kindred going to be taken, so an aggressive streak already. For Blank, this has been his trademark, with Period in the lineup, who's a bit more ready to roam out of the lane and help his other laners and his jungler. The Kindred will be preferred. But seeing if we do see a marksman this round by SKT. If they don't take it, they can ban Teemo in the second round.
I just want to see him block it. I just want Bang to take the Teemo and show us how much he's been putting in the work. But as you were talking about, the Varus have something oppressive in that bottom lane. Will get locked in for SKT.
Bit askew here in terms of the Ezreal Tahm Kench. This is Viper, the man who's been loving the Teemo, showed it wasn't a one-off, has played it twice already against SKT in such an important match. It is a bit of a different conundrum, and Varus has the range to harass and potentially engage on the Teemo. So I think the Teemo here is definitely higher risk than against the Ezreal, and they will agree, and they'll just go Kai'Sa and try to get through the Varus lane as safely as possible.
All right. Kai'Sa here for Viper. See how that bottom lane is going to unfold. Decent protection on both sides. The Braum there to block out a lot of the projectiles coming through from the Varus and the Tahm Kench, of course, with the Devour to just bail people through. But Griffin will be banning away that cannon, as we talked about before. Tal not going to get his hands back on that.
Imagine Sword will default to Gnar. Tal has a lot of pocket counter picks against the Gnar, and while I'm reading a lot into this, he does have Ignite as a summoner, so you start thinking about laning top laners.
My God.
It's possible, right? It's
top lane Teemo.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. I don't know if I should even ironically cheer for that one. Darius banned away as well, so Sword is saying, hey, how about Mundo at this point? Mundo, lower priority in the LCK recently. A lot of teams have been passing up. Jace blind pick, very commonly seen. The GP is the other blind pick top laner we see pretty frequently. So with 3 power top laners banned, we don't see a 4th one opted into. Is actually going to be the LeBlanc ban coming through from SKT.
Another mid lane ban there against Chovy. Getting rid of that and his Yasuo. Griffin, where do they want to go?
You want to see a priority lane somewhere. If they take the GP now, there is always that worry they end up with no priority. The Mundo would not be a priority lane, but they say, okay, Darius, Kennen, Gnar, all taken
There's
away.
a Jace, but okay, so they'll go for the Cho'Gath, which has been quite good for Sword.
Well,
But
I mean, results-wise, it hasn't worked. That's the problem, is that right now, the Cho'Gath is 0-4, and in some of the scenarios they've drafted it, it just hasn't worked. For example, in the Lucian Funnel games, they tried Cho'Gath with no initiation. It didn't really work. They're already pretty low on initiation on the side of Griffin, so they go for a blind pick. In the end, it's going to be the Ornn matchup, which is a slight winning matchup for the Cho'Gath, but I haven't been impressed with when Griffin have drafted the Cho'Gath. Less about how Sword has hit his ruptures or anything like that.
well, we're going to go for one of the most boring top lanes that we could possibly get. It's going to be the Ornn into the Cho'Gath, so a lot of sustain, a lot of poke.
Mid lane blind pick.
No one going to die, and mid lane blind pick. Do we just see the Rise come in for Pyrion?
Definitely expects Zoe to be the fallback for Chovy, so he just wants something that can lane into.
Swain.
That's Zoe. Ends up being the Swain. It is the go-to from Pyrion. Not Flex, just a straight-up mid lane pick here, most likely. Will Chovy show us something different? His Orianna has been decent, but not too convincing. Orianna would be very powerful against the Kindred drop. We'll see if they want to go that way. It would also give them more initiators, as the ball delivery system is decent. Chovy has not played a game of Rise yet, but he will go into the Rise anyway. The Rise has been higher priority in Korea. People believe he can get away with just a very high regen start with the Biscuit delivery, with the Corrupting Potion, with Time Tonic Potion, and just get over poke and then be able to set up some mid-game power. Definitely helps with ganking and rotational play, but it gives Griffin no true engage. And these are the sort of comps that they've struggled on and find those match victories in the second round, Rob.
I mean, they basically need to hope that they can pillar somebody off, knock them up with a Rupture, or just let Viper dive into the back line.
Or snowball,
instinct.
or get control wards down and force the
Yeah.
enemy to come to you. But when it comes to engage, which is almost the core tenet of a successful comp, not having it does limit some of your options. Your flexibility does go down. Griffin probably going to want to play 1-3-1, then Realm Warp and Killer Instinct into things here. SKT, they have this duo here, the Swain and the Kindred. The Kindred could be empowered and decide the game alone. A lot invested into blank in this draft for SKT. SKT in must-win territory. Griffin, even though they don't have the same calculation as SKT, they want to finish 2-0. They want to finish overall first and skip as many best-of series they can.
Overall, you can see some smiles there in the booth for the SKT players, so got to be feeling good coming into this, focused and trying to get that 2-0 victory. It's all got to start here. We'll see if they can get blank ahead so he can just be absolutely oppressive with this Kindred on the Rift. He's going up against Tarzan's Trundle. A massively arduous task for him. Only 2 deaths, a 33.0 KDA on that pick for Tarzan. Blank, can he deliver a loss onto that Trundle? Can he weaken that KDA? Can he get SKT on the board for a Game 1 win? Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to find out right here, right now, their playoff hopes hanging in the balance. SKT, can they get the wins? Can they make the miracle run in? Let's find out as we start off with game number 1.
미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
Fans filing in here on a Sunday evening.
Late Sunday afternoon, it feels like a little bit more.
Saturday is what I mean.
Afternoon.
I'm losing track of my days.
Whole lot of Korean esports going on right now.
There has
and
been.
over the recent couple of days. Looking at the crowd here. Definitely not in full voice just yet. Maybe unsure what they're cheering for. The SKT fan signs trying to find any sort of hope they can. But the Griffin fans here as well. SK Telecom, 1,947 days as an organization in Korean League of Legends. That's when Champions Spring 2013 happened. That was the day that we saw that famous solo kill by FLICKR onto Ambition, CJ Blaze against SK Telecom Team 1, Team 2. T1, Team 2. It was pretty, naming-wise, not the best.
Yeah, there was some strange
T1K from there, and of course, just SK Telecom T1 these days. And now we have another band of hopefuls, kind of in a similar scenario to where SKT was back then. Griffin with their 6 rookies and also rookie coaching staff looking to be the team that if they win a single game today, they will be the first team ever to eliminate SKT T1 from a playoffs, from it not qualifying out of a group stage. This is something unprecedented for SK Telecom T1 to be dealing with. We'll see if Blank and SKT can rally and find that 2-0 today.
Well, for now, just going to be the standard start coming in. Jungler's not going to find each other early on. It's going to be Blank pushing forward. He's looking for the wraparound. He was spotted in the river. But sort of still playing up.
Very standard gank time against a
back
Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath and Rumble, famous for pushing up and then potentially being ganked. Normally, you go spot your Krugs in this scenario, but Cho'Gath actually going for a longer walk. Does spot Blank on this ward. At the same time, Tarzan has been one of the best Trundles at using information. They see him top side. Goodbye to the Raptors. No big buff bot side, but Raptors taken. Here is Tarzan.
Yeah, just pushing forward. Tyrion going to get pillared back, but not going to be forced to flash. Just holding on to that for now, so it takes a little bit of extra damage, but Chovy's now going to be low on mana.
Again, this is the new tech that Korean Rise players in the LCK have been following. Start Corrupting Potion, no Sapphire Crystal, no Doran Ring anymore. And even in the Orianna matchup, traditionally a winning one for Orianna, even though the early trades for Swain can be very strong, just go deep into Corrupting Potion, Time Warp Tonic, Biscuiteer, just take as many different ways to regen through. And it turns out having instant cast CC in the mid lane is pretty good.
It's nice, especially when you can just go ahead and follow up with a pillar. But Byrian keeps himself safe. So he'll be fine for the moment. Doesn't really get punished as far as CS is concerned at all, because he doesn't have to go back to base. So we'll just be keeping up quite nicely with Chovy for the moment.
Definitely a nice gold total for Tarzan here. He took 1 scuttle, but both Raptor camps. So feeling really good about the jungle pathing. Again, we mentioned that Griffin have very situational engage the game goes on. Rise gives you 1-3-1, but the Flash Rune Prison is very rarely what you see in a team fight to open it up. So the 1-3-1 usually requires you to get the side lanes rolling. You don't necessarily have winning side lanes. Early game, you'll take the Ornn against the Cho'Gath. I think Cho'Gath gets a little bit stronger as the game goes on when it comes to the 1v1, but for now at least, Ornn pretty oppressive in the early trades. Varus Tahm Kench definitely preferred over the Kai'Sa and Braum, and Swain going to be very comfortable in mid lane. So when it comes to a pressure draft, which Kindred is always looking forward to, start looking for those marks as the game goes on. I think SKT will be very happy with how the draft turned out.
Just need to see if they can get ahead and accelerate the pace of this game. It's Griffin. They're going to be quite happy to go ahead and sit back and let things just scale up into the late game. They have that Cho'Gath that'll become oh so beefy. They can rip apart any of SKT's tanky members because they have the Subjugate out from the Trundle. But, you know, Rise, Kai'Sa just stacking up 30-plus minutes. They're going to be quite happy with that possibility. So TP just going to be coming through from Pyrian, rejoining into the mid lane.
That's
trying to push back.
Big investment.
It is. Now he's going to get locked down. The pillar comes through. Pyrian getting jumped on. Flashes to the side over towards Blank, but can't have a Lamb's Respite. He's not level 6 yet. Blank trying to answer one back here as Tarzan goes oh so low. Burning down, but it's not going to be enough to get the kill. So first blood just going to be going over to the side of Griffin.
And that's a really big decision-making mistake by Pyrian. They invest his teleport, a 6-minute cooldown, onto a ward just to get the scuttle. And then, of course, he gets turned upon after he completes the teleport. So if you're going to do that play, I think that Kindred has to be there to start skirmishing earlier. In the end, this ends up being a kill to side of Griffin. Already a bit of a momentum downturn by SKT.
Yeah. I mean, even if Blank had gotten the kill onto Tarzan, it would have been a nice little response, get some gold back in onto the board for them, but that just being a 1-0 for the first blood. Griffin come out way on top of that, and now they have that TP down from the mid lane.
Teleport flash, such long cooldowns have been surrendered for this play. Again, in service of the scuttle, and you understand from a mindset perspective what Pyrian's thinking. He's thinking, all right, well, we need our Kindred to get ahead, and I need to play supportive around Blank. Blank's going to be our carry this game. I'll teleport in, but full understanding of the scenario. So of course, we have the map hacks to fully understand. It seemed like a big commitment at minimum if it worked, and when it doesn't work, unfortunately, it just comes off looking like a very poor decision by SKT1 and their new mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's a first blood and 3 summoner spells gone just for the flash of Tarzan.
Yep.
So definitely not a good look. Lahen's the madman. He does it himself. He'll be fine. Gonna rotate down, help Tarzan take out this first dragon of the game. So Cloud Drake going to be going over to Griffin. Because Blank is still moseying his way back into the jungle to take that red buff. So no contest here. We'll get picked up, and now an Infernal going to be on the way just before the 13-minute mark.
Build path of Bang was pretty telegraphed by going into lethal tempo. We've seen a lot of Comet Varus recently. I go onto other streams and people malign the Deft Varus all the time, the Comet Varus that we saw very commonly from Deft this season recently. But you need to be able to kill frontliners. You got to go lethal tempo into Blade the Ruin King Rage Blades. That is going to be the build here. See top lane tanks, you have less flexibility to go for that lethality Varus, and it's going to be first item Storm Razor into Rage Blade. You would imagine from Viper, this is very much the new standard build on the Kai'Sa.
Blank back up towards the top side. He was spotted at all on the entry. There's no wards really up here for the side of Griffin. He's waiting in the fog of war. Has the red buff. Drops his way out and out. It's going to be a flash away. Sword not taking any chances. This goes ahead on the exit. As Chovy puts a lot of damage down on the period, but he's a Swain, so should be all right for now.
Good to see Chovy jump onto a pick that clearly every mid laner in Korea has been practicing recently. First game on this rise for him. Champion pool has been a question mark. KDA certainly not. 9.0, highest KDA in the league for a guy who has been a starter for the majority of games. But champion pool past Zoe, a bit more conditional. Orianna, his second most played, a recent adaptation as well. Tarzan's going to be spotted. Level 6 advantage there for Blank.
Bait coming down. They have the control ward in this brush. So maybe looking for the red, maybe looking for Tarzan.
He's close to level 6. He needs a couple more Raptors.
They're wrapping around. That's going to be the Call of the Forge God coming through. They get the pop-up. Tarzan, one more shot, and they got it. Blank.
Whoa.
We'll go ahead and put that kill on the board.
Evident Bang also way in there as well,
Yeah,
looking for
coming
this
in.
invade. Would have been a lot of a contest if the Rise had walked up. Chovy hadn't. They got the kill anyway. Bot lane being evacuated. He's going to lose a minion wave for this, but teleport means not going to be too much pain, all things considered. No Abyssal Voyage to get back, so it actually ends up being a cannon minion wave lost, but this is the time you want to roam on the cannon minion wave. Nice forward thinking from SKT. Between the two proactive plays we've seen, they're definitely very invested in getting Blank ahead.
Well, they finally put a kill on the board for him, so that's going to be helping them out quite a bit. They get a smattering of damage onto that bot tier 1 tower, knocking it almost to about half HP.
And if one thing's going to be ruined today, it's going to be Tarzan's KDA. Take that, Tarzan.
Yep, that's going to be
third
his
death
third
in
death.
his 9th game.
I think it was, what, 12, 2, and like 54 or something?
He had 33 KDA.
Was something like that.
Turns out it falls pretty fast from a 33 if you die for a third time.
So, he's ruining it. All of it just slipping through his fingers.
Somehow, I don't think that's going to be the biggest thing ruined today, given that Griffin's candidacy for first and SK Telecom T1's quest for the playoffs are both on the line today in many ways. If you lose here as Griffin, you're basically confirmed to not be first overall in the regular season. If you win, you're not guaranteed either, so...
Which would be unfortunate. You know, it's like, oh man, we almost had first. We could have been there. But it's a lot better of a feeling to know we're in the playoffs, we didn't get first, than to be SKT and be like, wow, we didn't make it at all.
Well, we all know that you end up living to your means. Turns out, people who believe that if they earn more money, they'll live the same is not true. You just end up living to your means more often than not. Not everyone, of course, but the reality is you get used to your scenarios. So isn't it cool that this team that came from Challenger is now as high expectation as feeling bad they didn't finish first overall in the regular season?
Yeah.
I guess also a sign of the times that SKT is so desperate about making playoffs, but with one team rising, another team does fall. That's just the reality of a 10-team LCK.
Started to think that OGN saw the future and they made the subtitle of the season the Fantastic Run just for Griffin.
But I mean, isn't that the reason why it's such a good title? It's the Fantastic Run for OGN. They'll be doing their 15th final out of 16 LCK finals in the Champions era. It's a fantastic run for whichever team wins the LCK. And even teams making it out of relegations. Jinna's making a fantastic run to be 8th overall after being with no match victories when we came back from Rift Rivals. So many different runs are coming to an end at the end of this year, and people definitely feeling that's too real about SKT's current predicament. Nothing is confirmed, but the sinking feeling around a lot of SKT's current scenario is there for all to understand.
Rift Herald, I believe, started up here by Blank. Rome coming over from Pyrian to back him up. Takes this one to about half HP. Tarzan on the back side of the pit. Not sure if he has a blast cone to try to come over the wall, and even if he does, I'm not sure if he would want to do so. Realm Warp thrown down, but not going to be followed in. So Rift Herald just going to get picked up by SKT.
Nice pick up for them. Very nice presence. They want to get as big of a tempo lead as possible and delay when Griffin can set up for the 1-3-1. Mentioned a couple of times already in picks and bans that with no on-command CC, Griffin really want to get wards down on their flanks and start going down for a 1-3-1 and then setting up for their own Realm Warp plays. For the laning phase, though, keeping that extended till Viper has 2 items would be kind of the ideal. It's all about unleashing on the map when you have a Seraph's Embrace finished on the Rise and a Rage Blade finished on the Kai'Sa. Not going to see that just now, and plenty of pressure being exerted so far in the lanes.
League of Teleport continues. Bang rejoining into the bottom lane. Just trying to keep up here with Viper. Got a slight little lead after the Abyssal Voyage roam into the mid lane. But otherwise, he's pretty close across the board. Wasn't able to get an assist, so didn't participate in that return kill on Tarzan. So right now, just going to be tied up 1-1. But maybe that'll change soon, Papa, because we got an Infernal Drake on the Rift, and both sides are going to be hungry for that objective.
Do you notice that Blank went for Blood Razor rather than the more standard Warrior, which does give him more threat onto something like an Infernal Drake? You do clear it faster. Burst trades, burst ganks, you would prefer the Warrior, but Blood Razor for the neutral control is very strong. Only downside with Blood Razor is the second item doesn't feel as good. If you go for Rapid Fire Cannon, the very normal item on the Kindred, you just have no AD, so it's kind of a weird spot to be in. Black Cleaver usually preferred here, but it's going to get over. I mean, you went for Kai'Sa Braum.
Yep.
The Rise was pushed in at that moment. No reason to contest it. See how many objectives Griffin feel they can give away for free, but that is the Rift Herald into the Infernal for SKT.
Great pickups for them. They've evened up the gold. And now start trying to inch forward and get a significant lead here over the likes of Griffin. They still are holding on to the Rift Herald. Blank might be throwing it down now.
Usually you would expect an Abyssal Voyage play, and having double control ward bot side does mean they can threaten an Abyssal Voyage and then be incomplete information provided from the Griffin bot lane.
There were so many just straight up the river there.
Here we go. This is the play.
Making their way over. Rift
So far
Herald
the setup's very
summoned
clean. Braum is ahead of the play, but going to be not the most useful under the turret. 3 members of Griffin here. Do know teleports are up for Viper and Sword.
Yeah, roam down tall. Getting ready to join in. We'll have a call of the Forge God here if they want to dive in. For now, just going to go ahead, take the tower, be happy with the first brick. Leave the Rift Herald to herself. She'll get taken down.
Man,
SKT
4
get the advantage,
control
and the
wards.
Abyssal Voyage back down into the bottom lane just in time to catch the wave.
4 control wards, Kilios, invested to make that play happen. 300 gold of guaranteed vision to know exactly where the enemy was at.
Worth
It's exactly the objective they wanted, and Griffin, a lot of teams make different decisions in a scenario like that. They'll double teleport and just lose a fight, and then their teleports are down. Griffin say again, well, okay, give up the Rift Herald, we're scaling. Okay, give up the Infernal Drake, we're scaling. Okay,
give up the Nexus,
give
we're
up
scaling.
the mid lane. And that's the slippery slope, Achilleos, because we always talk in the LCK about losing the minimum. We have a lot of games where in the mid game, 3 out of turrets are down, and then one team is trying to defend the Baron, the enemy team can't take the Baron, and losing the minimum is really hard. These are all competitive gamers who have been right up in solo queue. They're all very, very talented. To tell them, hey, don't fight for that. Hey, respect that. That is not going to be their first thought. Their mentality has to adjust to give up the minimum. And Griffin's mentality is something that we're the least sure of because they have the least stage time. So when a team finally says, no, we must fight now, we cannot sacrifice anymore, it's situational for every team. And we learn more and more about it as we get more samples.
Well, just taking a look. Poke damage coming out of the Varus. Hoping to top the charts there for Bang. And we know that Jovi has been doing quite well in these exchanges versus Pyrian for now.
CS-wise, Jovi opening up a lead after that early kill. CS very comfortable for Viper in a tricky lane. So CS-wise, things going well. Watching here, though, as Blank walks up. He's at 2 stacks, I believe, of the Kindred passive. 2 marks. Look at this exciting exchange.
I know. I was amazed that Tull actually tried to run away from the Rupture and stopped clearing the ward.
Worst part about this matchup is normally they have the same items at every point as well. Although Merc Treads versus the Glacial Shroud is a slight difference.
But only slightly. It's pretty boring.
But we know it's in service of something exciting. This is definitely the preamble for a memorable moment in the LCK, whatever the result here. Tarzan continues to clear. Plenty of camps behind the Blood Razor on Blank. It's going very heavy into the attack speed. You can see has the recurve bow as well. So if you have infinite time, you keep chasing and getting auto attacks as the Kindred, you can do a lot of damage.
Seems like that's the idea. Scuttle Crab now respawning. Looks like going to be set to take it. See, he's going to scoop that one up very quickly. Now maybe looking for the play here onto Lehen's. Chain of Corruption comes down, but he'll take a short hop over the wall. He'll stand behind me, gets himself out to safety.
Trying to show different stuff here. New priority on the Braum for Lehen's. I believe it's his first game on it. They've had games. Tarzan's played 3 funnel games on the Braum, but it's the first time Lehen's is playing it. So that's a champion pool here. We're seeing new champion for Chovy, new champion for Lehen's. Important takeaway this game. Until Spellbook, so heal now available for Lehen's for these trades.
I mean, if they can get wins with new champions coming out, it's a very good look for the team as they get ready to move into the playoffs.
Has Griffin been figured out? It's a big question. Is Chovy?
Oh, Blank, yeah, jumping in onto the rise. He answers back a lot of damage. Lambs was quite ready, however, but will not have to use it. Abyssal Voyage comes in for banging effort, and it's just going to be a disengage on both sides.
That'll be really frustrating for SKT. Every time you see Griffin play around there, blue side jungle or the bot, remember all those control wards lit that area. SKT have indexed very heavily on control, and while it hasn't been able to get them another kill, following up on the vision you place is exactly what you want to do as SKT. You have fast rotation, the Kindred, and also the Abyssal Voyage. So they'll be frustrated they can't convert that into a kill.
Does elude them a little bit. I mean, responding damage coming out of Rise, I think, caught Blank a bit off guard. So, fortunately, does hold on to the ultimate still in case he gets caught and didn't have to use his flash.
If Griffin can get an uninteractive laning phase till Ragebait comes in, we already talked about how that's what they want. Whenever we see a Kai'Sa comp, I like to look around the Rift and see how much setup there is for the Plasma. Hard CC does give those extra passive stacks to the Kai'Sa. Also to unleash the missing health damage more reliably. Cho'Gath Rupture, that will be there. The Rise W, that is there. And of course, Braum also has multiple ways to proc the Plasma, so there is nice teamfight synergy. And Kai'Sa getting through this lane unscathed is really the big worry for SKT, because otherwise, things have been very comfortable for them in the first 20 minutes.
It's clearing out some wards, getting a spot on Tarzan and Chovy here. So Wolves go down. Things slowing up quite a bit. SKT nearly at 1,000 gold lead.
Interesting. Look at the build here, Achilles. This might actually be Blade of Ruin King second coming through for Blank. That would be insane Baron control with Varus and Kindred here. That's something Griffin need to adapt to quickly. They're on the fly shot calling when it comes to jungle pathing from Tarzan has been good. There's definitely been a lot of series where they lost with one strategy, then did it again, Achilles, and that's the sort of thing where we're not 100% sure if they have the ability to respond to the fact that now SKT's Baron threat is going to be insanely high, and Tarzan's all alone.
Awkward position. Chovy coming over now, trying to keep him alive, but it's not going to happen. Blank comes up with a kill. As SKT start pushing forward, Call of the Forge God coming down from tall, tosses it in. He's going to find the pop up there onto the Cho'Gath, which is still going to be very difficult to take down at this stage. But SKT, they move back over to this Drake as they look for their second. The mountain on top of the Infernal Rupture comes down. That's going to be Bang getting popped up, damage rolling through. Dragon going to go over to SKT. Now looking for the turnaround. Sword taking a lot of damage, but Pyrian dangerously low inside the pit. Double pop-up Viper jumping forward to Killer Instinct. The Lamb's Spite comes down as they all try to stay alive. They all try to get over the wall, and they're going to do it. But Chovy chasing in, flashes over. Hop out for Blank, keeping himself safe. Tall might be sacrificed, but they're trying to turn this one back around. The skill shots aren't connecting, and Tall is just going to waddle his way away with his life.
Holy crap, there was a lot of action there. SKT got so much value out of the Lamb's Respite. Viper coming in with the Killer Instinct, thought he'd get multiple kills. On the back end, they are able to turn it into a turret, but I don't know if the flashes from 3 members were necessary. complete atrocity in terms of summoners in this fight. We're going to watch the replay. Before the fight starts, remember that Tarzan invades the weak side where there were 4 control walls from SKT and dies. Decision-making mistake from him. Viper dives in. Lamb's Respite getting unbelievable value. This is definitely the ching moment for that Lamb's Respite. They flash in. They don't get any kills, but they do take the bot lane turret for the Kai'Sa.
There were like 2 or 3 skill shots right at the end there. None of them connect. If they had, it would have just been 1 extra kill on the board.
But is a flash Q from Braum that kills 1 person worth it? Because
probably not.
Then we're going to see Viper a little bit more exposed. Maybe the reposition can't happen for Lehens in a fight. That's a lot to flash over, and that shows a bit of desperation from Griffin when, honestly, the game's going okay for them.
It would have been mitigating their losses, at least, if they had gotten the kill. But I agree, definitely not worth to go for in the first place. And you can see they have to respect Blank so much right now. He almost has that Blade of the Ruin King ready to come through.
I think back on that play, and it reminds me of the double or nothing casino move, where they've lost the Drake, the enemy's gotten away, and they just say, well, let's get some kills from it, I guess, and just invest their flashes as well. It was a very high-risk, I would say low-reward play. They lose their flashes, they don't get the kills. Could have waited for a better spot, as they did around the top lane, around the turret, around the Infernal, around the Rift Herald. But Griffin, no longer at 22 minutes, want to be sacrificing, and now they sacrificed quite a lot of summoners to make the play not happen.
Well, Chovy still does a lot of damage to Tyrion. But Griffin on the back foot now. SKT move up a little bit more, clearing out vision around the Baron.
They cannot leave any breathing room for SKT around Baron.
They will shred
Blood Razor, Blade the Ruin King, and of course the Blade the Ruin King on Bang as well. They're a Rage Blade short on one of those carries of just obscene Baron damage. They have Infernal Mountain as well to make the calculation faster, so a lot of those plays are going to be needed where Tarzan gets a friend to come along and help him clear vision around the Baron. No free lunches for SKT, and Baron control can be allowed by Griffin. Otherwise, that's the sort of objective that stops the 1-3-1 dead in its track that Griffin was trying to set up.
Well, another Infernal going to be on the way shortly. We just saw that Mountain Drake over to SKT, so about 4 minutes or so, I believe, remaining on that. And Griffin, I think that is maybe when we see another full-on 5v5 fight breakout, because they cannot allow SKT to get another Infernal.
The lane assignment here is not ideal from Griffin because the mid lane turret is down. They're actually sending Cho'Gath to wave clear in the mid lane. Usually it's 1-3-1. Of course, a lot of people have heard that adage before. If you need to explain, it's 1 member in the top, 3 members in the mid lane using the jungler just roaming around mid lane, and the support also being able to put vision on top and bot side, and the 1 on bot lane. So
I don't understand.
I think it's worth explaining. We're going to have plenty of viewers of different experience, and right now Griffin have the 2 on top, so it's a 2-1-1. Like, I guess 2-2-1 would be the way you think about it, because the jungler is grouped in with the mid lane, and that means that they're giving up vision control on both sides, and right now all of the control vision for SKT around that Baron.
Well, Chovy playing quite far forward for not having really any vision in that bot side jungle. We'll go ahead and kite his way back. He's got a control in the river, control in the tri-brush, but everything from the Raptors to the red buff is complete and utter darkness for him, so he will go ahead and finally peel back.
Viper is the one who's finally reached the item timing he was looking for when he locked in Kai'Sa into Varus. Basically, you lose every trade until you get to this item point, and you're able to QSS out of Bang's ultimate. Viper and Lehens don't know they're on a ward. 3v2 action brewing here.
Push forward, Chain of Corruption coming down. Viper keeping himself safe. Same might be able to be said for Lehens. Takes half of his HP and damage. Both summoners going to be used by the Braum. He kites his way back to safety, but
one ultimate
like Griffin
coming in.
Likely going to be surrendering this tower. They push forward. Viper trying to get some damage in. Not going to be able to do so. Tall playing forward. Call the Forge God used. TP now arriving. Chovy and Sword wrapping around the backhand side. Rupture comes in. They get the pop up onto Tall, and he will go down. Chovy finds the kill. Now Tarzan pushing forward, looking for Blank, who has to flash away. The pillar not going to slow them up too much, but so much damage coming out of this rise. Blank gets ripped apart. He is running for the hills. Flash forward. Feast comes down. Sword finds another one, and now effort is completely cut off. Bang is dead, and Griffin are turning this game around on its head. SKT had the lead. All of the objectives here under their belt, and just like that in one fight, Griffin Now 5-2.
And Pyrion's going to have to run in suicide, or the Baron is going to Griffin. Let's see if they actually respond to it. Maybe Pyrion should just push instead, but they're going to lose the Baron here for certain, our SKT.
Sword says, screw it, I don't have the feast, I'm not needed here. My damage is negligible on this Baron. Goes down to defend the tower. Pyrion does not go forward to try to get a random steal, and Griffin now have Baron for the next 3.5 minutes, and they swing themselves into a gold lead.
Really big play from Sword here. The 2 ruptures in that fight were so important. We'll get the replay and show you that the Cho'Gath, the lumbering, often skill shot missing tank, was able to put off some big plays in that fight. That was the fight Griffin were looking for. We mentioned the timing with the QSS. I don't know if Bang knew about the QSS, but the turnaround here was so important. This is towards the end. Remember, Ornn ult is down, Varus ult is down, threat onto Viper is down at 2 items. If you can free hit, which clearly they can, they have so many ways to apply the plasma like we mentioned. So watching this rate, watch the Viper, the rupture onto the Tahm Kench, predicts it, flashes in for the kill. Amusingly, Cho'Gath has to turn around, but they get the kills on both sides of Kilios because 2 ruptures guaranteed the kills.
Wonderfully done by Griffin as a whole. SKT way too antsy. Itchy trigger finger comes in, and Pyrion just didn't even get a chance to arrive. It was a straight up 5v4.
He teleported to the back to try to stop them chasing, but of course, if he'd completed his teleport, would have been turned on and died.
Yeah.
So the play was started by SKT, but certainly finished with a plum by Griffin as they find the sort of lead they've been looking for. They definitely lost the minimum.
Oh, that's going to be the killer instinct pop. Finds the connection there on a Pyrion. He tries to stay alive. Goes golden. Effort here for the Devourer. And we'll just go ahead and kite back. But this is the itchy trigger finger that I like, is when Viper just goes in with the killer instinct.
Well, the pin is dropped. They got the Baron. They lost the minimum, turned on, got the Baron and the kills, and now they are very certain of their power level.
Yeah.
SKT has to give up the turret. Easily do.
A lot of damage down onto Effort. Has to go golden. Glacial Fissure going to miss. Pops the shield, but it's just not enough. Another kill for the Kai'Sa. 6-2. Griffin keep advancing. 4,000 gold up. Get the drag back here onto Sword. All the Forge God, I guess, comes down, but
missed or interrupted, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna let that one go.
Didn't see it. It looked like it was missed. Unsure of that one off screen. Cho'Gath doesn't have teleports, gonna have to lumber his way back, but Griffin got their one objective. The 1-3-1 we talked about is a 4-1 at this point, as top lane, the Rise, will pick up the turret. The seesaw, the pendulum, is now wholly on the side of Griffin. You feel like there's one more team wipe, that playoff dream might be over, Achilleos.
I mean, one more team wipe, one more Infernal Drake to assist with that. It's going to be 2 Infernals for either side. SK Telecom certainly would love to have that just for that extra 8% stats to try to swing themselves back into the driver's seat.
And you can see when it comes to extras, look at the 3rd item for Tal. He's gone team utility already on going for the Locket. Wants that for a team fight to try to turn around and hope for a pick onto Viper if he takes another aggressive killer instinct. But as we can see, Viper doing a lot of damage, explodes the Bramble back.
Yeah.
Chovy's game on the rise has been very solid. He was able to do well in lane after the gank, and his 1-3-1 timings have been good. Seeing good agency from Chovy in the 1-3-1 side lane is an important thing for the team, because clearly Rise priority going to be very, very high in the remainder of the LCK. Tarzan walks down. So many areas of the map they couldn't go to. Those 4 control wards on the bot side setting up for SKT, but the big lead was garnered through that Baron play for Griffin. And now the early game feels like it was for naught, as Griffin are in full control of game number 1.
It would take a massive slip up here, really. Or an incredible outplay from SKT, which just doesn't seem possible at this moment.
Bamba power play, about 3,200 gold, a very decent one. By the side of Griffin, want to draw your attention to Bang's build. He's gone for the crit build onto the Varus, so no Rage Blade this time. He'll go for Infinity Edge, wants to have True Threat onto Braum, Trundle, and Cho'Gath. You see 3 tanks. This is the best way you can reliably do damage to those 3 tanks and actually kill them. You might think, oh, but Blade of the Ruin King does current health damage and Rage Blade makes you double proc it. Yes, but actually killing any of those tanks is impossible because they walk up, Goggo's Stone Plate, chill around, then flash out, so you never actually kill anyone. With the Infinity Edge, going to be a bit more threat there. The Gathering Storm seems like another one of those metaphors, like the fantastic run Achilleos on both marksmen in this game. Pyrion in the side lane. See where the next big play happens. There's an Infernal spawning in 1 minute 40.
Jovi going to be joined by pretty much everybody. Just going to be Sword sitting in the mid lane at the moment, squatting out there. Tower going to fall. 6-2 in that regard. 7,000 gold in the lead at 32 minutes. Griffin in full control. They'll go back to base. They'll spend what they have earned and get ready for that Infernal that's going to be spawning in 1 minute and 12 seconds. And then the Baron just shortly thereafter.
Frontline for Griffin is insanely strong. They have double stone plate frontliners, so killing those is not going to be Swain's job because Swain, you know, does decent AoE damage, but doesn't really have threat onto true tanks. It is a high damage build from Blank, but Blank and Varus going to have to be hitting the same target. If Sword is left alone in the front and no one backs him up, they can kill him eventually. What is Kai'Sa doing in the meantime is, of course, a more pressing concern. It's Convergence, Infinity Edge Varus. Again, seems to be the right choice here, but because he's a few thousand gold behind, and if his summoner is down, he's not going to be able to chase for the damage. No guarantee that Bang will be able to put out enough damage to actually put paid to the front line of Griffin.
Yeah, 1-0-3 for Viper. I mean, he might flame Horizon Bang by the end of this game. Not too far off.
Best places for him to farm, unfortunately, and 3 members competing. He walks up. They don't have any map control. And they're trying to set it up. They are getting control wards into their blue and red side jungle to allow people to side lane and pick up farm. Pyrian, for example, empowered to go to top side, but that will be at the cost of Infernal. Sword says, thank you very much, I'm hungry.
Double Infernal now. Elder going to be on the way next. After this Baron that spawns in 12 seconds. SKT at the moment trying to have some vision control over the area, clearing out these control wards. TP in from Viper, just arriving in the mid lane.
Very important teleport because they know the Baron speed from SKT is high, so they have to show members around the Baron as it spawns. It's getting a random Baron, one of the few ways for SKT to truly get back in the game.
Scrying Orb going to be used. Another one on the way shortly here for Jovi, but otherwise, just going to have to wait this out. Try to get as much vision down as they can. Viper's pushing around. He's going to find the hit there on the Pyrian. Dives in. Bang has a flash over the wall. Pyrian trying to stay alive. Doesn't do really any damage to this Kai'Sa at the moment. He'll go golden. Call the Forge God coming down. The Devourer's there from effort to try to keep him alive. Blank locked down by the Rune Prison. Has to flash out. SKT still on the retreat, but Tall gets slowed up and might just be sacrificed here. The Sword's coming around the back. Rupture flashed away. Pyrian keeping himself safe. Flashes out. Gets the spit there onto Tall. Putting him back into the base. Griffin not finding any kills, but getting so many flashes. Almost all of them, other than the Orns, right there on that push.
Viper clearly feeling it. Achilles diving straight into the backline, 1v3. And putting faith in his mechanics, didn't have to flash, got so many flashes, and Griffin say, all right, your summoner's down, we're going for Baron. There is some vision lingering, though, for SKT. They know all about it.
So quickly, though, already down below to 2,000. The Feast is there with the Smite. Griffin have another one ready to roll. SKT, can they hold off?
That's when you can be decisive around the Baron. You have both Baron damage and Baron secure with Kai'Sa and Cho'Gath being able to provide those things respectively. But keep on it. Don't worry too much about SKT. Only one flash left up, and it's on the member who probably will utilize at least in a team fight in the Ornn, who's much more about his ultimate. Griffin get that second Baron. The first one was definitely the first dagger in the heart of SKT's playoff hopes. The second one might be fatal. 2.5 minutes to really know if they can actually close the game with it. Right now, it is almost a 10,000 gold lead. And Griffin looking to find a way to break the base on this Baron.
And with breaking the base, they break the hearts of the SKT fans around the world.
Remember that if SKT lose, they are not eliminated from Worlds qualification. That's a lot more situational. That requires Hanwha Life and Griffin to finish 4th or better, win the wild card, or finish higher in the standings in summer season. So SKT are still in a good position for that. They need to get as many wins as they can just to get stage experience, because that's just a reality. But we'll talk about the more pressing concern. If they lose this game, they are out of playoffs qualification for LCK Summer 2018.
Yep. Said, first time in history that would have occurred. And Griffin are looking to get it done. A team of firsts qualify into LCK Summer, take the top spot very quickly.
Crush some dreams too.
Go nearly undefeated for so very long. It's only been their last few recent series. I want to see that Killer Instinct gets popped. You have to zoom out a little bit here as Blank just gets melted down. The Lamb's Respite, trying to keep him alive, but Sword goes for it. He finds Pyrian. Everett had to pick a target. He picks a Kindred, keeps him alive, can't do anything for the Swain. And now they're looking for the final push.
It's the moment.
The Nexus Towers under siege. Griffin will not be stopped. And SK Telecom will be eliminated from the LCK Summer Playoffs in 2018, the first time in history that they will not make an appearance in playoffs. Delivered to them by the rookie squad, Griffin, in their first performance here, their first appearance in the LCK Summer Split in the LCK. Wonderful to see these guys explode onto the scene, and they take down the long-standing veterans, the most dominant team in League of Legends history.
Huge moment in history, but not a huge moment in terms of just the game. Remember, it's only 1-0 in the best of 3. What it represents for history, 1,947 days of domination by SKT. When it comes to making playoffs, when it comes to going further than playoffs, going internationally and representing Korea, the playoff dream is dead for LCK Summer 2018. No game score or match score can make them eclipse both Afrika Freaks and Hanwha Life, who are vying for that top 5 spot. The series is still to be decided. There is still the question mark of will we be seeing FLICKR in the second game today. SKT need to start setting up for future matches. They still are very likely to play some best of 5s after the regular season ends. It may be no guarantee. Well, let's see what SKT we see after the break is over.
Yeah, I mean, will we see any changes to the roster? How are they going to be mentally coming back in? Now being delivered the news that they will not be in the playoffs. An unfortunately historic moment for SKT and their fans around the world who wanted to see these guys pull off another miracle run. They're the only team that started in the wildcard match, won their way into a grand final. But this time they're not even going to get that opportunity. Can't participate. Just going to be denied the playoffs straight up. Damage figures coming through. It's 37.5-minute game just about here, with Viper leading the charge on that Kai'Sa, absolutely smashing.
Huge numbers. Surprised the observer with his aggression in that last fight. Just dived straight in. Couldn't even center the camera around how much damage he was doing. Did have an emphatic answer as to his ability to hard carry on the marksman. Had a very passive laning phase, as you expect with the Kai'Sa, but when the game was there to be won, Viper tried to be a match winner and was able to do so.
Well, it's another win for Griffin as they push forward, looking for that first place spot. It's another win for the Trundle out here for Tarzan, his 9th game on that pick. KDA going to be looking pretty good still at the end of that one. SKT, some work to be done. We're going to go to the break. We'll see how they bounce back for game number 2.